wise man keepeth it in till afterwards. So the one that says, I'm just going to speak my mind, and they speak every bit of it, the Bible says that's a foolish person. Learn to stay quiet. Who was it? Mark Twain that said something about when people think you're a fool, something about don't open your mind and remove all doubts, or don't open your mouth and remove all doubts. Once you open your mouth, you've just confirmed how much of an idiot you are. So just don't be a talebearer. We spoke a week or two ago about the scorner. The scorner is someone who will not hear rebuke. Because they will not hear rebuke or reproof or correction, they never learn their lesson. Anybody know someone like that? I mean, they make the same mistake, the same bad choice over and over and over, expecting different results. That's a good definition for what? Insanity. Is doing the same thing over and over, hoping for different results. Instead of being a scorner, learn to yield to rebuke, reproof, correction. Learn to appreciate it. All right? Now, let's look at Proverbs 24:30. We're going to talk about the slothful man. The slothful man. Proverbs 24:30 through 34. Listen to this. I went by the field of the slothful, and by the vineyard of the man void of understanding. And lo, it was all grown over with thorns, and nettles had covered the face thereof, and the stone wall thereof was broken down. Then I saw and considered it well. I looked upon it and received instruction. Yet a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to sleep, so shall thy poverty come as one that traveleth, and thy want as an armed man. Sheer laziness. That's what the slothful man is. I read a story about an old mountaineer and his wife. They were sitting in front of the fireplace just one evening, just whiling the time away. And as they sat there looking at the fire, they had been there for a little bit, the wife said, Jed, I think it's raining. Get up and go outside and see. That old mountaineer just continued to look at the fire for a second, and he sighed and he said, oh, Ma, why don't we just call the dog in and see if he's wet? Now, that's laziness right there. Too lazy to get up and go see if it's raining. Just call the dog in. Let's just feel and see if he's wet. One person asked a tourist in a country town, saw a man, and he said, how's things going? And the guy said, well, pretty tolerable. He was sitting on a stump, and he said, I had some trees to cut down, but a cyclone came along and saved me the trouble. The tourist said, wow, well, that's good. And he said, yeah, and then the lightning set a fire to the brush pile and saved me the trouble of burning it. He said, wow, well, man, that's great. What are you going to do now? He said, oh, nothing much, just waiting for an earthquake to come along and shake the potatoes out of the ground. Laziness. Spurgeon said this about laziness. Some temptations come to the industrious, but all temptations attack the idle. One of the greatest things we can do to learn to be able to avoid temptation is to keep ourselves busy doing what we are supposed to do. Now, I know some people can multitask. I can't multitask too much. I can multitask just a little bit. But I know if I'm tempted to do something, if I just find something else to do that I'm supposed to be doing, won't be long before I'm not thinking of what my mind was thinking of a little bit ago. Now, understand, I'm not talking about people when we talk about the slothful or the lazy. We're not talking about those who are truly have a legitimate problem that has placed them in need. Just because someone's in need doesn't mean that they're lazy. All right? There are incidences where health or tragedy or a bad past leaves somebody in a mess. That doesn't make them lazy, okay? But we're talking about the slothful man tonight, the lazy man. Now, once again, our tendency as we go through the book of Proverbs is to think, well, who needs this? Oh, yeah, he's talking about this guy. I know that scorner, and I know that talebearer, and I know that slothful person. No, what I want you to do is examine yourself. Okay, does this describe me in any way? Does this describe some part of my life? It's very possible to be a hard worker and yet be lazy when it comes to the spiritual disciplines and the reading of our Bible and praying, sharing the gospel. I've known some people that are give themselves to that, but they're lazy in that, man, they don't want to lift a finger to do any manual labor. So slothful, it means slack, deceit, treachery. It's someone who does just enough to get by. You ever been there? It's the student that just wants to pass. Now, I fell into that trap. I remember one year in college, had to take English literature. I just didn't care for literature at that time, especially English literature, and it involved knowing a long list of authors and what genre of English literature, what it is they wrote, the dates that they wrote these things. You had to have all these memorized and be able to write it out on this exam. Well, I just didn't care for it, so I didn't study until the night before the exam. Anybody ever do that? And I remember as I'm trying to cram all these names and all these dates and all these titles and all these different things into my mind, I remember while I'm studying, I'm also praying, God, if you could just help me to make a D on this exam, I'll still pass the class. Now, why did I get in that fix? Because I hadn't been studying all along. I'd been lazy. Now, I'd been good with all my other classes, but I was lazy with that one. You know why? Because I just didn't want to do it. It's the worker that does just enough to keep from getting fired. Anybody in here an employer? You have people under you? Okay. Hey, you ever had that kind of worker? They did just enough where you wouldn't fire them, but you almost wish they did less so you could fire them. All right? It's a disheartened. It means to sink. It's the one who does the half-hearted job. It's the one who would always rather be doing someone else. In other words, when the Bible speaks of the slothful person, it speaks of someone who's lazy. The slothful man now is a close relative to the scorner. Look in Proverbs 26:16. Proverbs 26:16. That is right after Proverbs 26:15. So if you can find Proverbs 26:15, you can find 16. You just go right to the next verse. Listen to this. The sluggard, that's another word for the slothful man. The sluggard and the slothful, they're kin to each other. The sluggard is wiser in his own conceit than 7 men that can render a reason. The slothful man always knows better than the one who's trying to help him. You can't teach him a thing. Just like the scorner. They're not going to listen to correction. They're not going to listen to rebuke. They're not going to listen to reproof. The slothful man will not take correction or true help. I have an uncle that was a pastor in Charlotte, and he retired from, or for a while he was working with the ministry in the projects of Charlotte there. I forget the name of the ministry now, but he would help people when they came in with a financial need. And the way he would help those people with the financial need when they came in needing money, he would say, okay, first off, we're not giving you any money. I said, well, why not? He said, because that's not really what you need. Well, yeah, it is. I've got to pay this bill. And he would explain to him, okay, then how are you going to pay it next month? What do your finances look like? What kind of job do you have? How much are your bills? If we pay it this month, will you be able to pay it next month? And if you're saying yes, then show me how you're going to be able to pay it next month. Because if all I do is give you money to pay this right now, I've not really helped you. So let me help you. Bring in your finances. We're going to lay it out. I'm going to help you set a budget to see what has to happen for you to be able to pay your bills. And once we do that, then I can help you with this month. But I want to make sure that this is not going to be your lifestyle. I want to help you to be able to make it through. You know what they'd do usually? They'd get mad and say, well, maybe say things like, well, I thought you was a Christian. I thought it was a Christian organization. You're supposed to just give us money. No, we're supposed to help you, and I'm trying to help you. Okay? So that sluggard is wiser in his own conceit than 7 men that can render a reason. He will not take correction, will not take true help. He only wants the bailout. But if you get bailed out, but you haven't solved the real problem, what are you going to need next month? A bailout. So that sluggard, that slothful man, doesn't realize that just fixing that immediate problem doesn't really fix the problem. He doesn't even want to acknowledge that, because to acknowledge that, well, man, I'm going to have to change something, and changing something makes me sweat. And that sweat, I don't like to sweat. When someone offers legitimate help, he gets angry or offended if it's not just the easy out. You following me? Now look, I want you to evaluate yourself, because I'm not just talking about finances here. I'm talking about spiritually. I'm talking about relationships. I don't know how many times I've had people meet in my office. Hey, preacher, we're having some struggles in our marriage. Can you help us? We sit down, give homework. Say, okay, here's what you need to work on for this week or this 2 weeks. We'll meet back. Let's see how it's going. Then meet with them a week or two later. And, okay, did y'all get the homework done? Nah. I really don't think that's the problem. I just really don't think that's the problem. And this isn't going to help any. Met this one couple. Family, communication's a big problem. Anybody ever had communication troubles? Okay. And so I had these cards, and I said, okay, here's what I want you to do. You ever met people that like to just talk over each other? And the whole family can be talking at one time, and it drives me bananas. I just can't take it. So I said, okay, here's what you do. I have these cards, and I'll say, look, you take the talker card. You take the listener card. Now, whoever's holding the talker card gets the talk. The one holding the listener card keeps their mouth shut, and they listen. And on the card, I may have given some of you these cards too, because they're really great. It tells how to talk and how to listen. Well, about a week later, one of the family members came back to me and said, preacher, we sat down to use these cards, and I couldn't take it because this person wanted to overtalk everybody. Said, I wanted to call you up and tell you where you could stick these cards. I said, so you didn't like them? Now, here's what it was. They didn't want to put the effort in to correcting the problem. Man, it's tough, isn't it? When you have to change you, it's easy. It is easy for me to tell Phil how to change Phil, because that don't involve a whole lot of work on my part. But when Ronnie has to change Ronnie, that takes some work right there. That takes some getting down and dirty work. The slothful man is a close relation to the scorner. He doesn't want legitimate help. He gets angry, gets offended if it's not just the easy out. Look, you've got to learn. We have got to learn to take correction from somebody who loves us, from somebody who cares about us. The slothful man always has an excuse. Always has an excuse. There's always a reason they can't do what they're being told they need to do. Look over in Proverbs 22:13. Proverbs 22:13. It's hard to get used to all the digital Bibles, because I can't hear pages turning on the digital Bibles. It's so quiet. Proverbs 22:13, listen to this. The slothful man saith, there is a lion without, I shall be slain in the streets. Verse 14, as the door turneth upon his hinges, so doth the slothful upon his bed. The slothful hideth his hand in his bosom, it grieveth him to bring it again to his mouth. The sluggard is wiser in his own conceit than 7 men that can render a reason. So look here. The slothful man there's not really a line in the streets. But somebody said, hey, it's time to get up and go to work. Oh, I've heard that there's a line in the streets. We need to stay off the streets. I've heard that it might possibly snow. Okay. So I can't come to work because it might snow. I've had people in the past say, I'm scared to come to work because it might snow. What are we going to do if it snows? We're going to work until the snow melts, I reckon. All right. It says, as the door turneth upon his hinges, so doth the slothful upon his bed. Just rolls over. Hey, there's a line out there. Can't go to work today. He rolls over. He hideth his hand in his bosom. It grieveth him to bring it again to his mouth. He's so tired. He has his hands down here. I'm so tired. I'm so lazy. I'm not even going to reach over and get a chicken wing to put it in my mouth. I read this recently that dry cereal sales over the past years have dropped off drastically. One of the reasons people thought was because, well, there's now these protein drinks and protein bars, and people do that. They did a survey and found out that 40% of millennials said they don't like to eat cereal. Now, here's why. Because it makes a mess that they have to clean up. That's it. They'd rather just take a wrapper, eat what's in it, throw it away. They don't want to have to wash a spoon. They don't want to have to wash a bowl. They don't want to have to pour the milk, put the milk back in there. I mean, boy, we're talking about a lot of steps here. I mean, it could take up to 60 seconds to make a bowl of cereal. Proverbs 15:19. The way of the slothful man is as an hedge of thorns, but the way of the righteous is made plain. Always an obstacle. You ever met somebody who anytime you say, okay, here's something that needs to be done, they always have a reason it can't be done? You ever known somebody like that? It's always a reason. Hey, Patrick, hope you ain't talking about your wife now, brother. I'll have to get you some of them cards to take home. There was a man I knew years ago who his wife said, Brother Ronnie, it's back in Charlotte, I'm scared to use the bathroom because our toilet is about to fall through the floor. Now, this guy knew how to fix stuff. I just thought somebody else had that experience recently. So, they said, he knows how to fix the stuff. And here was his excuse. By the way, he didn't have a job. But he said, I just have so much on me. Wait a minute, you don't even work a job. And you can't keep the toilet. I mean, look, you're going to hear a loud noise, go in there and see nothing but your wife's head sticking up through the floor. Because I've got so much on me. Always has an excuse. The sluggard will not plow by reason of the cold. Well, it's too cold to get out there and work. Therefore, he shall beg and harvest and have nothing. I had a man call the church one time when I was in Charlotte, and he said, listen, I'm disabled, and my check is late this month, disability check. I was wondering, do y'all have food that y'all can help out with? I said, yeah, we have a food bank. We sure do. Come on up. He said, well, I can't drive. I said, okay, where do you live? And he told me, and it was right on my way home, right off the interstate. And I said, hey, I'll bring you a box of food. So I got one of them big banana boxes, you know what I'm talking about, big cardboard box. And I filled it full of canned goods, put some meat in there and all. And I took it to him. When I went up and knocked on the door, he answered the door. And this guy, I don't know, he's about 6'3", 6'4". He came real sprightly, opened the door. He is a man younger than myself, if I remember right. He was younger than me. And I said, hold on, I'm going to go get the food. Big old heavy box. I picked it up. And as I walked in, I said, so what is your disability? He said, well, I have a drinking problem and an anger problem. And so I can't work a job. Now, it took me so off guard. If that ever happened again, I would say, I have an anger problem too. And I'd walk out, put it in my car. And, you know, something about hunger will make a man want to work. Sometimes it's good. But he said, hey, always a reason, always an excuse. Just suck it up and get it done. I've learned this. The only way to get the monkey off your back is to get the monkey off your back. If there is a job that's got to be done, instead of just looking at it, man, I'm thinking of something I needed to do for a while I hadn't done. Let's just close in prayer at this point. Man, holy smoke. I ain't going to say what it is because then you'll be looking to see when it gets done. It's at my house. My wife will get me. If there's something, instead of just looking at it all the time and it wearing on you, take the 30 minutes necessary to just get it done. Stop making excuses, because here's what happens. Tell me if I'm wrong now. You don't get this done, before long there's something else that needs to be done. Now I've got two things that need to be done. You put those two things off, guess what? Something else is going to come along needs to be done. Now there's three things that need to be done. Read your Bible, say, oh man, I didn't have time to read it today. I'll read it tomorrow. Well, guess what? Tomorrow rolls around and you say, man, I'm just in such a hurry. I got to hurry up. I got to sit down and watch this TV show that I don't want to get behind on it. Next thing you know, 3 months, you hadn't read the Bible. Hadn't spent time with the Lord in prayer. Haven't been active or faithful to a church service. You've been injured, sister. I'm not talking about you. Yeah, no, I know I looked your way. I thought I didn't mean it that. Okay. Here's something else about the sluggard, the slothful man. He will never be satisfied. He won't be. Because he's not doing what's necessary to satisfy him. The soul of the sluggard desireth and hath nothing. But the soul of the diligent shall be made fat. At our church years ago, we got a sign out front, the kind where you could put the letters and put little sayings on it and announcements on it. One of the first things my preacher had me, we were right off the interstate. So he always had people coming off the interstate wanting help with something. And first thing he had me put on that sign was this: God blesseth him that worketh. If you'll work, it's amazing how God blesses you when you work. Here's a Chinese proverb. Them Chinese are pretty smart people. This is what the Chinese proverb says. Man stand for a long time with mouth open before roast duck fly in. Let me read that slowly. Some of it that roast duck flew right over your head. Man stand for a long time with mouth open before roast duck fly in. In other words, he said, boy, I sure am hungry. I'm going to go over here and wait for a roasted duck to fly in my mouth. You know what? You're going to be standing there a long time. The sluggard says, boy, I wish I had this. I wish I had that. I wish I could do this. I wish I could do this. Instead of doing what it takes to be able to do it or to have it. Wishing has never gotten me anything. Has wishing ever gotten you anything? Never gotten me a thing. I've been in ministry for 26 years now. 26 years now, I guess. Is that right? For most of my time in the ministry, my family and I lived what the government would say below the poverty level. Working around 60 hours a week, making less than $25,000 a year, with 5 children. Well, how in the world did you make it? Well, I didn't just make that little bit of money. I went out and hustled up other jobs. In the summer, me and my boys would go out and hustle up jobs, mowing grass, cutting hedges, aerating, fertilizing, seeding. You know why? Because I like to eat. And my wife likes to have clothing for the whole family. So instead of sitting back wishing it would happen, I prayed for God to meet our need, and then I put a little bit of faith in my prayers and went out and found some work. Follow what I'm saying? I've heard people say this, I wish I knew more about the Bible. And then you say, man, that's a great thing right there. So do you read it on a daily basis? Well, no, not really. Well, how's it going to happen? You can't just put it under your pillow at night and hope that it's going to seep through your brain. Well, I wish the Lord would sure answer prayers for me. Really? Would you pray regularly? No. The slothful man, the sluggard, he desires, but he has nothing. But listen to this. But the soul of the diligent. What is the diligent? The diligent is that one who gets after it just the best he can. He may not be able to do it as good as the next guy, but he gets after it the best he can. The soul of the diligent shall be made fat. Look, when I was in high school, I played basketball my junior and senior year. Never played school ball until my junior year because I wasn't good enough. I got cut the other years that I tried out. But I finally made it my junior year. Now, here's the thing. I was not a natural basketball player. I still am not good at dribbling a basketball. First 3 games of my junior year, set the bench the whole time. We're down by 20 and 30, and the coach still don't put me in. Next couple games back in the regular season, didn't play 1 second, didn't matter how bad we were doing. Our guys would run and gun, run down to half court and just launch it from half court sometimes. And I think, man, I know I'm not that great a basketball player, but I can do better than that. If I ever get a chance, I'm going to do something in there. Coach put me in about the 6th game of junior year. And I gave it everything I had. I was not a talented player. I didn't have all the moves. Okay? I had lead in my feet. I couldn't jump very high. All right? Couldn't dunk a basketball. But I went in there, and I'll tell you what I did. I did the one thing Ronnie Wise knew he could do. I worked hard because I wanted to play. I didn't want to just watch the game. Within a couple games, Ronnie Wise was a starter for the rest of the junior year and all of his senior year. Now, listen, there were guys on that team better than me, but they were lazy. Ronnie Wise wanted to play. So Ronnie Wise worked hard and got to play. Follow what I'm saying? Diligence. You want to be closer to the Lord? Then be diligent about it. Hey, you want to have a better marriage? Then you've got to be diligent. And when there's a problem, you got to work through it and then be diligent. Say, I'm not giving up. I'm going to work on it. I'm going to work on me. This doesn't speak of the soul of the diligent shall be made fat. It doesn't speak of material wealth. It speaks of the satisfaction of life. Having some satisfaction of knowing, man, I'm doing what I can do. There's something tremendously satisfying about pulling your own weight. Isn't there? There is something satisfying about knowing, boy, the Lord has used me. He's given me this health, and look, I'm doing what I can do. For every person, listen to this saying right here. I don't know if it's Chinese or what, but for every person who climbs the ladder of success, there are a dozen waiting for the elevator. For everyone that puts in that effort to climb the ladder of success, there's 12 of them standing there for the elevator to come in, waiting for their ship to come in. They don't want to put the effort in to go up. They're just waiting for the easy ride. Now, here's something else. They're not satisfied. The slothful is not satisfied even after they have been given what they wanted. They're still not satisfied. The sloth is wasteful. Proverbs 18:9. He also that is slothful in his work is brother to him that is a great waster. Proverbs 12:27. The slothful man roasteth not that which he took in honey, but the substance of a diligent man is precious. He hunts, and then he's too lazy to cook it. He works, and then he is too lazy to discipline himself to spend the money wisely. Cable, cell phones, new cars, jewelry, TVs, but no food on the table, can't pay the power. There's a family in Charlotte, a poor family. I went and visited them. They rode our bus, and I was talking to them. And the wife said to her husband had a decent job. And she said, Brother Ron, you just don't understand. You make more than my husband. I said, whoa, I didn't realize that. How much does your husband make? And her husband made more an hour than I did. And I said, no, your husband makes more than me. She said, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that. I said, ma'am, I just want to tell you the difference here. That TV you got in there, are you renting that TV? Yes, I am. I don't have a TV. Didn't have one at the time. That game system you have in there, y'all renting that? Yeah. That nice stereo you have in there, you renting that? Yeah. I don't have any of that stuff. That's why I'm able to put food on my table. And that's why I'm able to pay my bills. I'm not renting all that stuff. See, the slothful, he was taking what he needed to put it to, he wasn't putting it to. He's putting the stuff that he wanted instead of stuff he needed. No discipline. Listen, the slothful will run into extra money, and instead of using it to pay bills, he squanders it away on unnecessary things. You ever known somebody like that? Man, they live for the tax return at the beginning of the year. They get that tax return, and within just weeks, it is gone. Don't let your children be wasteful. If you let them be wasteful, you're training them to be a slothful. Don't let them be wasteful. Don't let yourself be wasteful. How many of you were brought up that you're supposed to clean your plate? Man, listen, in my house, I clean my plate, and I've taught my children to clean their plate. As a matter of fact, I think it's Trent was at before him and Amy were married. He went up to visit her, and he was eating at their house, and they had put way too much on his plate. He was getting near the end. He was full. And he was, I don't know how I'm going to do it. And he was trying to eat it, and finally her daddy said, Trent, you're not at your home. Your daddy's not here. You don't have to clean your plate. He's like, but I've got to. And they said, why do you have to clean your plate? Because I was taught to clean my plate. Look, in my home, sometimes, once in a while, a boy will put too much on their plate, and their eyes bigger than their stomach, they can't eat it all. And I'll see them getting ready to scrape it off. I say, oh, what are you doing? I can't eat it. I said, man, we got to clean our plates. Daddy, I really can't eat it. I said, bring it to me. I'm not even hungry. I'm full. I've eaten so much, my innie has turned into an outie. Okay? I mean, I'm full. But I don't want to waste that food. Teach them not to be wasteful, okay? Listen, being slothful, it brings poverty. Materially, spiritually, it brings poverty. It'll leave you poor spiritually. It'll leave you poor in your relationships if you allow yourself to be a sloth. Go to the ant, thou sluggard. This is in Proverbs 6. Consider her ways and be wise, which having no guide, overseer, or ruler, provideth her meat in the summer and gathereth her food in the harvest. How long wilt thou sleep, O sluggard? When wilt thou arise out of thy sleep? Yet a little sleep and a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to sleep, so shall thy poverty come as one that traveleth, and thy want as an armed man. There's no contentment, no satisfaction when you're slothful. Here's the last thing. Romans 12:11 tells us as Christians, New Testament here, not slothful in business. Don't be slothful. There is nothing Christian about being lazy. There's nothing noble about being lazy. Proverbs 6:12, that ye be, not Proverbs, Hebrews 6:12, that ye be not slothful, but followers of them who through faith and patience inherit the promises. Ecclesiastes 9:10, whatsoever thy hand findeth to do, do it with thy what? Might. If there's something you're supposed to be doing, give it all you have. 1 Corinthians 10:31, whether therefore ye eat or drink or whatsoever ye do, do what? All to the glory of God. That's right. Holding that couch down, I don't think brings too much glory to God. Right. Don't be slothful. Help your children not to be slothful. Help them not to be lazy. Don't give them everything. that they won't. Okay? Teach them to work for it. Don't be slothful. You cannot represent Christ well as a slothful person. You cannot provide for yourself and your family well as a slothful person. You cannot grow spiritually as a sloth. You cannot build a relationship as a sloth. Let's be diligent. Let's bow our head and close our eyes. Father, thank you